Shalom Aleichem Rabotai, this is Rabbi Kovacs, and Mishnah Yomi is continuing with the Mishnayot for Shabbos Bereshis, Shabbat Bereshit. We are in the second parak of Orlah at Mishnah Yud Gimel. Kalim. Kalim means utensils generally. Here it means leather kalim, such as shoes. Shesochon b'shemen tameh v'chozer v'sachon b'shemen tahor. And he smeared them with oil. And first they were smeared with tameh oil, and then later they were smeared with tahor oil. Now, if you already smeared them with tameh oil, to make them soft and make the shoes nice and comfortable, then why does adding tahor oil help? So the Barner explains, well, you put them in the mikveh first. You wiped off any tameh oil that was outside the leather. We understand there's going to be some still absorbed in the leather. That might be an issue later. But then he dunks them in the Mishnah. Now you have nice tahor shoes, but now you've got to add some more oil to make the leather nice and soft, so now you added tahor oil. The Mishnah adds, shesochon b'shemen tahor, or they first worked the leather with tahor oil, but then later they used tameh oil here as well. Then, of course, they realized they had added tameh oil, tameh shoe polish here to the shoes, so again, they wiped off the outside and dunked it in the mikveh. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Achar Harishon Ani Ba. He says, I follow after the first oil. His assumption is the oil that was put into the shoe first will be exuded from the shoe later. Now, this can be an issue if he's, rubbing his shoe and a little bit of oil comes out of the leather. It's no longer absorbed in the leather. If everything is absorbed inside the leather itself, not going to be a problem. But if a little bit is squeezed out or exudes out, well, if we assume that was the first oil and the first oil was tameh, now your shoes have a problem, and if you were rubbing the shoes with your hands, you've got a problem too, son. But only Rabbi Eliezer holds we go after the first oil, Chachamim Omrim Achara Achron. They say we go after the later oil. Now the Tiferes Yisrael explains what Rabbi Eliezer means is Af Achar Harishon. So we even go after the first oil, meaning whatever comes out, some of the first oil is coming out with it, even though logically the last oil in is also coming out. If you're squeezing the leather's getting rubbed and some oil comes off. That even though most of it could be from the most recent application of oil, some of the original oil could also come out. So that's what Eliezer is worried about. Whereas the sages are saying, once the leather was full of oil and you added more oil later, we're going to assume all the oil that comes out is the most recent application. Good. Mishnah Yud Daled, Seor Shel Truma. Back to the sourdough, the starter, the yeast. V'shel Kilai HaKerem. So now instead of having one that's mutter and one that has an isser, we have one that's truma, which is usher to non-kohanim, and one which is Kilai HaKerem, which is usher to everybody, isser hana, shenaflu l'tuchisa. And they fell into one large dough, lo vazei kedei lachametz, lo vazei kedei lachametz. And as we saw in Mishnah 12, neither one, Mishnah 11 and 12, neither by themselves has the power to leaven the dough here. V'nitztarfu v'chimtzu, and they got together and they accomplished more, like two Jews getting together can do more with their Torah. 10 Jews getting together can accomplish more with their tefillah. Here too, the chametz also. The Yetzer Hara also, which is likened to Sor Shbeisa, also has more power in numbers. Asr l'zarim mutter l'kohanim. The Mishnah rules what happens is the Truma did some of the work, and Truma is usher to non-Kohanim, but mutter to Kohanim and their household. But Kilai Kerem is usher to everybody. So here, since the Truma did some of the work, and the Kilai Kerem, the real Isser, did some of the work, well, this dough is going to be usher to non-Kohanim, but mutter to Kohanim, because the Truma did half the work here. And the Kilai Kerem, which is usher to everybody, it didn't have the power by itself to be mechametz this dough. Rabbi Shimon matir lizarim v'la kohanim. Rabbi Shimon is matir to both, because Rabbi Shimon says we don't combine isurim. And that, of course, refers back to Mishnah Yud, where Rabbi Shimon omer shnaim v'shlosha shemot v'min echad. You have 2 or 3 different prohibitions, but the same actual species. O shnei mini mishem echad. You have 2 different species with one iser, einan mitzdarfin. That's the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. So here too, he says, by the Seor, they do not combine. Shabbat Shalom Rabotai, sei gesund.